Right, so I have shared my whiteboard. Okay, so we were discussing the very first chapter of P1 syllabus, that was quadratics. And we discussed the very first unit that was solving a quadratic equation by factorization. Today, we will be talking about the second unit of the first chapter. We will be discussing completing the square method. Okay, so let me write down everything. This is 1.2. Completing the square method. This is what we are going to discuss today. Okay, let's talk about a few examples and then we will understand the idea. Right, so example number 1 is express 2x squared minus 12x plus 3 in the form px minus q whole squared plus r. Okay, now you would find a direct question from this section. The question could be about it that you need to express this thing right here, this quadratic expression right here in this form. So this means if you want to go from here to here, you need to apply the completing square method. Okay, completing square method is very easy. We have a few steps, and if we follow the steps carefully, we are easily able to do it. Okay, let's talk about the solution. Whenever the question would be about completing the square, let's write down the expression first. It is 2x squared minus 12x plus 3. First of all, I am going to take this 2 out from x squared because I need x squared separately. So I can write it as 2 and then I can write it as x squared minus 6x plus 3 by 2. I've taken 2 common from all these 3 terms and this is how it would look. Now, I need to look at this number, the coefficient of x. The coefficient of x is 6 here. So I need to do it this way. I'll do 2x squared, then minus 6x would come as it is, and then it would be plus and minus. In maths, I cannot add anything of my choice until and unless I'm subtracting it as well. I need to add and subtract the square of half this number. So it would be plus 3 squared and then minus 3 squared, and plus 3 by 2 would come as it is. And then it would become 2. I am going to take x squared minus 6x plus 3 squared over here, and then I am left with minus 9 plus 3 by 2. Okay, now what is this? Can I think about it as a squared minus 2ab plus b squared? This is 6, this is 3. So 2 into b would become 6 and a is 6. So this is what I have. And I can write this pink thing as a minus b squared. So I can write it as x minus 3 whole squared. 2 would be outside and it would become minus 9 plus 3 by 2. Now I can multiply 2 to get this form. It would become 2x. Yes.
Miss, why is the minus sign here? Shouldn't it be positive?
It is minus because of this minus. Okay. Right? if you will have a minus here, because um, let's talk about the basics. If you have a minus here, what do we get? We get a minus b squared, right? If you have a squared plus 2ab plus b squared, what do we get? We get a plus b squared. And if we have a squared minus 2ab plus b squared, in that case, we get a minus b squared. So this number, this sign right here is determining the sign over here, right?
Okay, miss.
Okay, so since we had minus 12 from the very beginning, the sign with x was negative. That is how I knew that this would be negative as well. Okay, all right. And now I am going to just multiply it. Okay, this would be minus 9 plus 1.5. And then I can multiply 2 with it. This would be minus 15. So this means that my P is 2, my Q is 3, and my R is minus 15. And that is correct. I'm going to explain it again, don't worry. And this time around, the idea would be good. Okay. All right. Let's talk about the method first. Once you understand the method, then I'll erase this and I will explain the logic behind it. Okay. The question would be very straightforward. You would be having a quadratic expression like this, and you would be asked to convert this form to this form. Now, both the forms are equivalent. Both expressions are quadratic, but there's only a form difference. Okay. So this is what we had in the beginning. Rule number 1 is x squared needs to be alone. The coefficient of x squared must be 1. Otherwise, you would not be able to apply the completing square method. So in order to get the coefficient of x squared 1, I've taken 2 common, and I've taken this 2 common from all these 3 terms, right? So this is what I would get. Okay, the first step was making the coefficient of x squared 1. We are done with it. Second step is focusing on the coefficient of x, whatever the number is. This time around, the number was 6. Take the number, half the number, and square it, and add the square and subtract the square. It's maths, you know well. You cannot add anything of your choice. You can only add if you are subtracting it as well. We need to maintain the balance. Okay, so I am going to add half square and I've subtracted half square. I know that in a squared minus 2ab plus b squared, and even in a squared plus 2ab plus b squared, b squared is always with the positive sign. So I'm going to keep it here and rest would be outside. Now, this is what I got. X squared minus 6x plus 3 squared. Now I can clearly see that x is a, then 6 is basically 2b, and this is my b, right? So this is a squared minus 2ab plus b squared. So I can write it as x minus 3. This is what I am getting. It would become x minus 3 here, then minus 9 plus 1.5 is minus 15 by 2. And when I will multiply it with this 2, it would become minus 15. So P is 2, Q is 3, and R is minus 15. Yes. Any confusions, Rafe? Any doubts in this question?
No, miss.
Okay. All right. So we are good with this one. Right. I'm going to clear the screen. Are you clear with the idea of completing square?
Yes, miss.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about another question. Now we have another method of doing this completing square thing. Let's talk about that method now. This is example number 2. And again, the question is same. Express 4x squared plus 20x plus 5 in the form ax plus b squared plus c. Okay, now this time around we have a slightly different thing. This time around we have a here. In the previous example we had p into x minus q squared plus r, right? So the method we will be using here, we can also use that for this as well. But let's talk about the method. Now this method is going to work every time, and I personally think this would be easier. This would make more sense. Okay, let's talk about the solution. All right, first of all, since I know both of these are equivalent, this is equivalent to this, so I am going to write it as 4x squared plus 20x plus 5 equals ax plus b squared plus c. This is what I am going to have. Okay. Next, I am going to expand this side. You'll see why. This would come as it is 4x squared plus 20x plus 5 would be coming as it is, and this would be expanded. So I would get this squared plus 2axb. You can write it as abx. That would look better. Plus b squared plus c. Okay. Now this is what I am going to have, and I can write it as a squared and s squared. So this expansion would give me a squared x squared plus 2abx plus b squared plus c. The reason behind doing this was just so I could compare the two sides. Okay. Now I can clearly see that the coefficient of x squared on the left side is 4, and the coefficient of x squared on the right side is a squared. So it would become 4 equals a squared. Then I need to focus on the coefficient of x. It is 20 on the left side. It is 2ab on the right side. So the second equation would be 20 equals 2ab. And then the third equation would be b squared plus c and this 5, right? I need to compare the constants now. So 5 is equal to b squared plus c. Okay. This is the first equation, this is the second equation, and this is the third equation. Now, equation number 1 is going to give me a would be equal to plus minus 2. Any doubts, Rafe, with this one?
No, miss.
Okay. A has turned out to be plus minus 2. Okay, now let's use the value of a. Using a equals positive 2, let's find the value of b. It would become, I'll just simplify the equation first. This would become 10 equals ab, and now when I will use positive 2 here, it would become 10 by 2 equals 5, that is b. Okay, and then using 2 and 5, I would get 5 equals 5 squared plus c. So c is going to be 5 minus 25, and we would get minus 20. Okay, now we are going to get two expansions for this, right? Let me write down the first one. The second one you can try it out on your own. Okay, now using a equals 2, b equals 5, and c equals minus 20, we are going to write down the first expansion. So it would be 2x plus b. B has turned out to be 5 minus 20. This is the answer, and this is the first expansion. Okay, alternatively, you can use a equals minus 2. When you will use a equals minus 2, b would be minus 5, but the value of c would remain minus 20. C is going to be minus 20. So this time around, when I will plug in the values, it would give me minus 2x minus 5 whole squared minus 20. And I can simplify it to, I can take this minus common, and it would give me 2x plus 5 whole squared minus 20. Now I know if I will be taking square of a negative number, I can think about it as a positive number, right? Negative number, square of 1 and square of minus 1 would give you the same value. So it is going to give me 2x plus 5 whole squared minus 20. So now you can see that the answers are same. The values of A, B, and C would be same, but the method, like during the method, we got two different values for the constants, even though after simplifying, we got the same idea, okay? So what is the difference in this method? Here we are finding the values of A, B, and C by comparison. I'll be comparing the coefficients, and once I've compared the coefficients, I would be getting three equations, and using these equations, I will be finding the values of A, B, and C, okay? How do we make these equations? By comparing the coefficients of x squared, by comparing the coefficients of x, and by comparing the constant terms. And I initially got two different values for A and B, but after simplification, the overall answer turned out to be same. So this is going to be the answer. Any confusions, Rafe? Please be honest and tell me. Even if you have 1% doubt, you can ask me.
Miss, wait a second.
Sure.
Miss, I used another method. Miss, can I show you that one?
Yes, sure. You can
Miss,
send
can
me.
you?
Yes, you can. What you can send me your the image on WhatsApp.
Okay, Miss, wait a second. Let me just do it quickly.
Okay.
Okay, Miss, wait a second. Miss, I just found it. Miss, did you receive it?
Yes. Just now. 4 out. Okay, you got 2 point. Yes, definitely. This method is very correct, and you have used the previous method, right? The one we used in question 1.
Yes, Miss.
Okay, but I'll tell you what is the issue here. The issue here is that the form which the examiner wanted was this one. In the previous example and in your method, we were getting a number here, right? But this time around, the examiner wants a number here. That is why this method is more preferable. Your completing square method is absolutely correct, but you won't get full marks for this because your form is not what the examiner asked for. The examiner wanted ax plus b whole squared plus c. And what you are getting is you have a number outside the brackets. And yeah, that there is a difference. Your b is turning out to be wrong this way. So that is the only issue. Otherwise, this would be correct.
Miss, so like, what can we do with this formula and make it in this form, like the first formula or method?
Using your method, and finally the answer should be this way. Is this what you're saying? Right?
Yes, miss.
Okay, I'll
Yes,
tell
miss.
you. I'll tell you definitely. So it is completely fine. Even I was more comfortable with the old method. Unless I came across this form, I'll write it down. So finally, you're getting 4x plus 2.5 whole squared minus 20. This is what you're getting. Now we need to get rid of this 4. In order to get rid of this 4, I need to take it inside. Okay, when I will take it inside, I need to take it inside the square. For that, I need to do it this way. 2 squared into x plus 2.5 squared minus 20. Now, Rafe, I know 4 can be written as 2 squared. And in maths, we have a rule. If we have two numbers and they have the same power, I can write it as 1 power. So I will take this 2 inside and it would become 2 into x plus 2.5. And the exponent would be 2 minus 20. And now I can write it as 2x plus 5 squared minus 20, right? So now we're getting the same thing. So this is what you got initially. I need to take this 4 inside. For that, I can see a square here. I must write down 4 as a number just so I have square on that number as well. So that would be 2 squared. Since I have a squared number here and a squared number here, I can multiply this and this, and I can write it as 1 square. So I multiplied 2 with x plus 2.5 and I wrote it with 1 square, and 2 with x would give me 2x and 2 with 2.5 would give me 5, right? So you can always use the previous method and then just, get this thing. This is also correct. It is totally up to you, whatever method you are comfortable with. But partial fractions you won't be doing right now. We will be using comparison methods in future as well, right? Like where we would be comparing two equations and we will be comparing their coefficients in order to find the value of constant. So it's good if you want to stick to your method, but you need to know this method as well. Were you good with the idea of this method, the second one?
Miss,
Hmm?
Miss, I understood till this point, I think. This one.
Okay, great, great. So you were able to find the values of A, B, and C, right? When you
Yeah.
have the values of A, B, and C, you are just supposed to plug in the values in A, B, and C. That is it. You're done. You're done. Okay. Now I know that A has turned out to be 2. I will plug in 2. Then we have an X here. Then we have B. B is 5 plus 5 squared, and then C is minus 20. That is it. When you have the values of A, B, and C, you're only supposed to plug in those values and that is it. So look, this is also giving you the correct answer, right?
Yes, miss.
And when you will use these negative, were you good with this? When you will use these negative values, you would get the same answer.
So, miss, like, should we ignore that negative value?
Yeah, you
Minus
can.
2?
Yes, certainly. You can ignore the negative value because now in the marking scheme, you would not be able to find the negative value because, the examiner think that the students are clever enough. They would know that minus a and minus, because one quadratic expression cannot be equivalent to two different quadratic expressions, right? It would be equivalent to one quadratic expression. So you can use 2, you can use minus 2. The expression at the end must be same, right?
Okay, miss.
Any doubts you can ask me again. कोई भी मसला हो तो obviously you need to ask me right now.
No, miss, everything's clear.
Okay, all right, great then. All right, so this was the second example. Now we have one more example. Can you please try it out this example? And those who would be watching the recordings, all of them should solve this question on their own. This is the last question. I am going to clear the screen. Practice is important. Very, very important. Okay. So I am going to write down the question. Use the completing use completing the square to solve the equation. Okay, this is a bit different. It is 5 by x plus 2 plus 3 by x minus 5 equals 1. Okay, you are only supposed to convert this to a quadratic equation, then tell me. We will complete the square and we will solve the equation together, right? For now you are only supposed to convert this to a quadratic equation and then tell me. You can have 3 to 4 minutes, no problem at all, and just convert these two fractions into a quadratic equation. And you're not supposed to solve it, okay? I'll solve it. Yes, Rafi, are you able to do it?
Yes, Miss. Wait a second.
Okay, sure.
Miss Afsan.
Okay, sure, I'll check.
Miss, is the answer correct?
Yes, I'm just checking that. Okay, so you got well done, very good. It is 10.1. Excellent. Your answer is correct, but the only issue is it is 0.84 and like the actual answer is 0.89. I'll tell you why.
No,
Um,
miss, it's actually 9.
it is 9. Okay, okay, all right, all right. Okay, very
It's
good.
my
Acha,
answer.
I'll tell you. So obviously it is not your fault, but at times if the examiner or if the statement says give the exact answer, so in those cases you're just supposed to leave the answer in the under root form. I'll just do it quickly and then I'll tell you what exactly I'm saying. Okay, so very well done, excellent, you were able to do it correctly, good job. I'm pretty sure that by now all of you would be able to convert this to a quadratic equation. Step one is taking the LCM. I'll quickly do that for those who are not good with the idea. It would be x plus 2 and x minus 5, and it would be 5 into x minus 5 plus 3 into x plus 2, and we have a 1 here. Now next thing is taking this entire thing on the other side. So finally, when you will take this entire thing to the other side, and when you will just simplify this, we are going to get a quadratic equation of this type: x squared minus 11x plus 9 equals 0. Now this is a quadratic equation, and this time around you need to solve this quadratic equation by completing square method. You're not supposed to factorize, you're not supposed to use the quadratic formula, you're just supposed to use completing square method. Okay, so for that, how do we do it? We are going to write it down. X squared is already alone, the coefficient is 1. X squared minus 11x, I need to add and subtract two squares, and the number would be half of this one, 11 by 2 and 11 by 2, and then plus 9 is going to come as it is, and this is going to give me x minus 11 by 2 whole squared. I've written this entire thing that way, and then we have minus 11 by 2 squared plus 9 equals 0. I'll take the constant part to the other side for a reason, and I am going to get x minus 11 by 2 squared equals 85 by 4. Okay, this is what I would get. Now in order to find the value of x, I'll be taking the under root. So the first equation would be x equals x minus 11 by 2 equals 85 by 4 with an under root. This would be the first one, and the second one would be x minus 11 by 2 equals minus root 85 by 4. This is what I am going to get. And finally, you can just simplify this, and it is going to give you x equals 11 by 2 plus minus 85 by 2. Now you can just take 1 by 2 out, and that is it. This answer would work. Okay, if the examiner says give the exact answer, you need to give the answer in third, in fractions, because even if you convert this, yeah, it is, I've taken the under root of 4, that is 2, right? Because
Oh,
the next step would be, I just wanted to tell that we can take 1 by 2 out. 11 plus minus under root 85. This would be the most simplified version. If the examiner is telling you give the answer correct to 3 decimal places, that you can always convert this, find the value using your calculator. If the examiner is saying give the exact answer, then this would work, right? So your method was absolutely correct. This is also correct. It totally depends upon the question statement. When we will be practicing past papers, there I will show you at times the examiner has clearly mentioned give the exact answer. So exact means when you will plug in these values in calculator, you would get 10.12, this, that, this. So, we don't write down all of it. We just write down a rounded figure correct to three significant figures, right? So that won't give him the exact answer. For exact answer, we need to write it this way, okay? These are some things which are new for you. But when we will be talking about past paper questions, so you yourself will see this is how it is. So this is going to be the final answer, right? Very good job, Rafa. You were able to do it the question correctly. Excellent. Anything that you would like to ask? Any other method that is coming to your mind?
No, miss.
All right, that is great then. Then we will be talking about the next uh, section or unit on Monday. Next class would be on Monday, inshallah. So take care and I'll see you on Monday, okay?
Okay, miss. Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz.